He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Attention, citizens of Fair Gotham, and welcome to Bat Minute of the Phantasm, the show that said it'd get through these movies. Somehow. I am one of your hosts, John Parker.
And I am the co-host who's come into your life for the 51st time this season and screwed it up. It's me, Niall McGowan.
I mean, you said it. You said it. I didn't want to highlight the fact you've screwed up 51 times in a row now.
And all our listeners have just this such bad luck. It's one of those things. But they keep listening, and that's why we love you.
Well, to balance it out and bring us hopefully some good luck, we have our returning guests. Dave and Alex are back. Whoop!
And
hello.
I wipe the tear from your cheek. I'm back, and then we embrace.
Oh.
We're back to talk Batman.
Oh, they're going to do dirty things. I will leave the room.
That's what we do with all of our guests.
The prophylactics are in the nightstand, Master Wayne.
They haven't been touched in several years, though, so you might want to make sure.
Check the dates on them first.
I mean, Alfred, though, goes in with a pin. He's just like, if he has a child, he'll have to stop being Batman. So.
I thought about that. I thought about, would Alfred sabotage condoms? So it's like, look, you can't be Batman. You got a kid now. I'll raise him as a soldier. No!
Alfred, I've already had a kid, man. I got him out running around with me every night. Like, damn it.
My plan has backfired. There's more of them.
He just made Damien all over again,
Yeah.
Oh, that would be genius. But we are here to talk about minute 51. The minute starts with woe, and it ends with that post-coitus glow.
Oh, that's worked into the outro of this episode, too, John. So, yeah. Going to do the finger-tapping head gif.
Yeah, great minds. People think we plan these things. Nope.
Yeah,
Absolutely not.
We come in, too... No, there's another one later in the movie, but I thought I was going to think this might be our last diddly-up for the movie, because we come in mid but yeah, so can we get all four of us doing this to emphasize the importance of yeah. So Andrea here now explaining what we kind of touched on there last minute. That's like, yeah. So, eventually after a while, he parlayed all the money he embezzled into a small fortune, which is why, I get... This all makes... Andrea's financial position, to me, has been a mystery the whole movie, because, her dad's been dead for a while. The Joker's been around for years, so he died, ages ago. She seems to be financially quite secure. So... But I guess it's all dirty money, because it's he embezzled... Carl Beaumont embezzled money, then potentially... parlayed it, or, we're
invested, we think.
Invested or gambled.
Yeah.
And then he left a small fortune that I guess he's just been living on for...
Yeah?
Yeah, that's it,
Well, but the thing is, if it's invested, then your dirty money is becoming clean money, right? That's the...
Okay. I wouldn't know, Alex.
I mean...
I don't have as many wheelings and dealings as you do.
That's the idea, is now your paper's legit. Right?
Yeah. That's the thing, though. If it comes from a corrupted source, it's even if it goes through a system, you're like, oh no, this money's fine now, even though it came from something rotten.
Well, she should be this is if financially, as Alex put it, this could be clean money on the books, but to her, we know this is morally just bad black money because her father's blood's tainted on it.
Yeah.
Mob money's tainted this. And I think that's why, probably I'm still a little bummed out about the ending. Is that, you almost feel like she should become philanthropist with it. There should be, the Beaumont orphanage or something in Gotham at the end,
She finally makes the hatchet hand a thing. It's
sells it across
the hatchet
globe.
hand. Let's cut out child orphanage.
That's what I think. All right, so she's back. And, at the end, we know she's aroundish, but it's for Bruce Wayne to say, okay, I'm going to keep tabs on you now, I guess, because I'm probably still going to be, part of me will still be infatuated, and also you have that mob money that's cleaned. I don't know.
I'm going to keep tabs on you because I have an incurable weakness for bad women.
Yeah. Although I guess he would have tried to keep. She disappeared in the smoke. The smokinator got him. So.
Smokinator, TM. You have to
Although the thing is, though, maybe she's come back. She's like, oh yeah, I was living off the small fortune he made for years, and now that money's run out. So I'll come back to either bag Arthur Reeves or you, Bruce, my ex-fiance, because girls gotta eat, I guess. But no, that's much more cynical view of Andrea.
Smoke bombs cost money; they don't pay for themselves.
Well, speaking of money as well, they actually touch on what we talked about last minute here, because she says how he finally had enough to pay the mob back, essentially. But no, of course not. At this point, they weren't willing to take the money. They just wanted to kill him because he, as we say, he did a runner.
I have to say, I love the poetic line though, of her saying like, "Oh yeah, so they, it was never." And she gets really dramatic with it too. It was proper. It would never be enough. They wanted interest compounded in blood, which is again, whoever wrote that line was like, "That's right, I got that in there." Like it's so like graphic and yet poetic.
It's very graphic and novel. I think you just get away with it here in a cartoon. If that was live action, you can't. That line is hokey as hell. Unless you're doing like a Sin City where it's basically just a graphic novel on a screen. Like that line is hokey kind of thing. If it's live action.
Yeah. Mickey Rourke is Andrea Beaumont.
My old man.
They wanted interest compounded in blood, but Daddy didn't like that.
And my mitts.
But no, so I think that this is very blatantly though, like, as we were saying like earlier in the week, the problem now is that doing the runner is the issue. Like, he could give them 10 times the money back, but it's the fact that public perception is that, oh, these guys owe the Valestra mob money, and he just got away. He just paid them back. Yeah, they ran away and they got away. And then when they felt it was when they wanted to, they came and gave the money back.
Yeah,
and it's just like no. The Valestra is like no. The message has to be that you've tried to run away and we killed you because you don't mess with the mob. So yeah. Again, like Andrea says this as if it's a shocking thing. It's just like no, that's standard mob practice. Like that's I'm surprised Bruce isn't just there like. Yeah, they'll do that.
To quote John Wick, consequences.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I like the way as well, when they say, he had to find another way, the man in the costume, your father, all of that. She doesn't flat out confirm or deny that.
Yeah.
Very clever. She doesn't say yes. She doesn't say, no, that's not him. She's being deliberately vague.
Yeah, obtuse in many ways. Yeah, it's a proper Obi-Wan strategy, really. It's just
from a certain point of view.
She didn't address it.
Although they're dodging around a lot of things. I really do wonder if like they didn't decide to name the character like the Phantasm until way late in the game, because it's just like the man in the costume, your father. Like it's like. Yeah, the Phantasm. Like that's who we all like. Obviously, I've got my whole thing about like the real.
Say the name, Batman.
Yeah, but I guess nobody's calling it but it's also even weirder though hearing Batman referring to someone like as the man in the costume, because like you're the ultimate man in the costume guy.
Yeah.
Like you deal with guys in costumes every friggin' day.
The mask is back.
Yeah. So it's like some freak running around in a cape. That's your father. It's like that's you. Yeah, so no, I really do wonder if it could have been they were going to call it the Reaper and reference the year 2, but then they decided, and they were just like, we're going to call it, and then eventually they landed on, because even like the original title of the movie was just Masks, so that screenplay is just entitled Masks, and then they have it still be the man in the costume, your father. It's just like, oh yeah, they just really didn't want to lay that name down, I guess.
So instead, we'll give this character a name that little kids don't know what it means.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't know what, compounded or embezzlement or parlay means either. So, like, we're 4 for 4 at this point.
I'm curious, why it's like they don't want to call it the Phantom to confuse it with the purple hooded Phantom Billy Zane movie. They can't call it the Shadow of the Mask or something because Alec Baldwin,
the Spectre, nothing like that. It's like, no, it's a guy.
So that's why, like, the Phantasm, where you're just like, it's such an odd, noun to use.
They try to really lean into it and like, it's called Captain Marvel. We're doing it a third time. Third time's the charm. Now this character is the definitive Captain Marvel, and Stan Lee can go screw himself.
Oh, they should have done it. They should have just done it.
Yeah. And then Billy Batson's just like, what? It's like, no, get out of here.
No, really lean into it. Call that character the Joker.
Came back to claim the name again as well. I was planning to be called the Joker way back when you killed my dad. And that day I swore I'd become the Joker, and then you stole that from me. So now I'm coming to kill you to take the name back.
That was my entire gimmick. God damn it.
You know how many playing cards I bought?
Episode of the animated series where the Joker breaks himself out of Arkham because someone's using his image and likeness, basically without his permission.
That's genius.
Yeah, so
it's the principle of the chaos.
Well, she, when she says here how she found out about Chucky Sol, when she found out about Chucky Sol, that she came back to find and stop him.
Yeah.
Smart again, I think, because she's never explicitly, saying that she's talking about a father or any of this. It's all very surface level. Like, when I found out about Chucky Sol, when he died?
Yeah.
When your father killed him?
I came back to find him. Just like, the him I was talking about was Sal Balestra, you should realize. Yeah. Or the Joker. Like, maybe he was finally like, yeah, you weren't doing anything about it, so yeah, I came back to take care of this guy.
But really what she seems to be saying is when she found... Basically, she came back to stop Chucky Sol. Not the Phantasm.
That's like, I heard Chucky Sol was still alive, so I came back to find him, to stop him.
Yep. To stop him from living.
Well, I get every time, I don't know what it is. It's every time I hear of someone referring to stopping someone, because it's such an old time, like it's a very, you don't really get it outside of action movies and stuff, like I gotta stop this guy.
Yeah.
But this always makes me think of that one bit in season 2 of Twin Peaks with just like Mike explaining all the stuff about the Black Lodge. And he's like, I came back to find Bob to stop him. This is his true face, but few can see it. And just every time Andrea says to stop him, I just get friggin' that guy with the beard tapping the picture and stuff in my head.
At least you had something good in your head. All I can think of is somebody stop me.
Somebody's.
And you already had a whole season of that like 2 years ago, John.
Yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah. But again, too, I think when Rob was on earlier in the season, he thought this was Dana Delaney's one bad delivery, all this stuff. I think we said at the time, though, is it because she's hokey deliberately because this is her outright performing? This is the one.
Yeah. This is Andrea acting.
Yeah. The character is doing a performance, an act. It's all fake.
Yeah, and it is very cheesy, hokey soap opera. Like, I had to come back to find him. To stop him.
Well, and speaking like that will appeal to Bruce. He loves that kind of stuff. That's how he talks.
So do you want to become like a weird creature of the night like me? Sure. And so it's the thing is, though, now I'm going to pose the question of how sincere Andrea is about a lot of stuff here. Like, because, the rest of the scene is obviously she gets up to leave, and she makes an apology, I'm sorry, Bruce, this is the second time I've come into your life and screwed everything up, and she makes to leave. And then her and Bruce, like, he stops her and makes love and stuff. But it kind of got, like, in the Batman film that came out to this previous was, Batman Returns, where we also had, a woman driven over the brink, Selena Kyle, on a demented costumed quest for revenge, wherein, like, she was determined to kill Max Shrek and destroy everything. And I think we said during that season, the vibe with Selena was that, like, no, she's gone. Like, even if she killed Max Shrek, it would never be enough. She would have to keep going and go after more people because, she looked crazy at the end. Whereas Andrea has a do you think everything she's doing here, is she playing Bruce by being like, yeah, I'm gonna go and I know he's gonna stop me and we're gonna have sex and I'm gonna completely get back in his arms again and then I'm gonna quietly kill this guy and then I'll go back to a normal life with this man? Or is this all just like misleading him until she gets to her main goal, which is just like, yeah, then I'll kill the Joker and then I'll piss off again, or I'll do whatever. It's kind of hard to gauge whether like is Andrea redeemable? Is she looking to just do this one last murder and then settle down, or is this all a giant ploy?
Yeah, I think it's that type of thinking. It's making me go like, yeah, like, I don't know if I like think Andrea's good for Bruce, or like she was before the mob got involved. But it does feel like I'm like, I don't really think that she would ever like become domesticated with him or try to get him to. You're just like, yeah, it's like I think she's just stuck on the revenge with her father, and he is obviously stuck on bringing vengeance for Gotham.
I don't know, but in a way though, I do feel like this is actually like a potential. This is like the brighter path though than what Batman Returns was. At the end of that, where Bruce is like, we're split right down the center, and she's like, I'd love to go and live with you in your castle forever, just like a fairy tale. And at that point in the movie, you're like, this never. Look at these two freaks. Like, this is never going to happen.
But she knows that that's not going to happen.
But this one, the real tragedy of this one, though, is I actually do believe Andrea in that she's just like, yeah, what she would do is like she would kill the Joker. Her next target is the Joker, and then Bruce probably could stop because it's like, well, the Joker's taken care of. He's the big threat of Gotham.
Well,
so it's kind of, this feels like at this moment it could all stop. Like if she was just like, if I was just able to go and do that quickly, then we could come back and be together, and it would actually everything would be done.
But would he?
I think so. We know from other episodes from I think it's a Justice League episode where the Phantasm briefly reappears from, I think, some of the EU comics, things like that. Basically the Phantasm just goes on to become an assassin for hire. Yeah. It's part of the recurring theme, like a soldier coming home from war, that like you can't just turn that training off, that both of them really have. They both have essentially assassin skills. Bruce obviously doesn't use his to kill, but he has essentially all the training of a ninja assassin. There's no domestic life. It's so hard to try to turn off that warrior training, that soldier training, that assassin training, to then try to just settle down and be domestic, like bake cookies on the weekends. Like
the reason Andrea becomes an assassin for hire is just like, it's the end of this movie. It's like the things couldn't work out between the two of them. And then, her last thing is like, oh, do you want to be alone? And she's like,
but she already has the training for it though. Like it's not, so that similar sort of weaponized training is already inside of both of them at this point. So you think no, there would never be these people are too broken to ever just make this work. Not without like a lot of therapy, which I mean obviously would solve a lot of problems in superhero versus in general.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think they're both too far gone now at this point.
Like I said, it's like a soldier coming home from war. You have to reprogram yourself to not, view everyone as a threat and everything else that you have to do, as part of that life. It's the same sort of thing,
Yeah. Let me run a hypothesis here. So let's say Andrea thinks if I kill all the people responsible for my father and my demise, I'll be fine. Let's say she says that. She says, and I'll settle down with Bruce, and I'll get him outside of. He won't need to be Batman. And so hypothetically, she kills the Joker. She never reveals herself as a Phantasm to Bruce. So let's keep that idea there too. So she tries to be domesticated. Bruce is going to be the Phantasm killed the Joker and got away with it, and he will not rest until he finds who the Phantasm was.
That's true. Yeah, that would be like she could be a year of. mean, Bruce the Joker's dead. I know there's still mob stuff going on, but you could give more tips to Gordon or something, or let Dick take care of it maybe, but then it's just like, no, he'd have to be like, yeah, no.
The Joker needs justice now.
We know Batman is anti-killing, especially in this particular adaptation of Batman. So somehow you think that you're gonna kill the people that you need vengeance on, and then we're just gonna be cool?
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't know that she's a phantasm, he wouldn't be sleeping. He would be a light sleeper, and he'd be up as Batman. Yeah, I'm
He's queuing it up. That's it.
Yeah, I'm dog whistling to Nate tonight. But yeah, it's like, he'd be up all night looking for the phantasm, even if he finds no clues and stuff. And she'd be like, "Oh, Bruce, just come to bed. We'll just be two domestic couple." He'd be like, "No, it's like the Joker needs justice now. Someone killed him.
Yeah,
this phantasm killed him. Got away with it."
There's your sitcom spinoff, though. Is just like the thing, the domesticated phantasm trying to hide that it's her who killed the Joker the whole time.
That would be quite fun, actually. I'd be into that.
It'll be kind of like Breaking Bad in a weird way. It's just like Bruce is Skylar White, I guess. But but no, Dave, like, as you alluded to there, and as kind of said earlier in the movie, or not in the movie, in the minute, particularly when Andrea is just like, "Oh, this is the second time I came into your life and screwed it up." There's similarities to a film that Dana Delaney was in relatively recent to this. I think Light Sleeper came out in like '88, maybe, was it? Or it was late '80s anyway. John, Alex, have you seen Light Sleeper? Do you know what the movie is?
I've heard of it, but I have not seen it.
It's one of the Paul Schrader joints where it's very like, Paul Schrader, his whole deal is like, tortured, lonely white protagonist sort of driven towards violence and a constant quest for redemption and things like that. And most of them, he does a lot of the same stuff over and over, but it's always usually pretty good. So I think that's why he kind of gets away with it.
Yeah, it's like he essentially, I haven't seen First Reformed or Master Gardener, but like I definitely saw the similarities between Light Sleeper here and Card Counter.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, it's like Paul Schrader's like doing the most like, I'm not doing Batman, but I'm definitely doing a movie that would take place in the Gotham universe.
Yeah, and it's all, again, too, Paul Schrader obviously wrote Taxi Driver, and it's like, it's all very similar. Like, that's the from
God,
it all.
Taxi Driver, duh, God.
Yeah. But now the whole thing in that is like, Willem Dafoe is he's a drug dealer, but he doesn't want to be a drug dealer. He's kind of like, he was an ex-junkie who's turned drug dealer, and even when he goes to visit people, he's kind of like, I don't want to, I'll give you a little bit, but like, you should really get off this stuff, and like, he wants to redeem himself. He wants a better life. But he meets up with Dana Delaney, who's his ex, and they were junkies together. And basically, it's kind of similar to like Bruce and Andrea's relationship, wherein like they kind of want to come back together, but they can't, kind of thing. And like she has a whole thing about like basically, Willem Dafoe comes into Dana Delaney's life twice, and both times screws it up in Light Sleeper. Like, it's a kind of weird intertextual thing, and because when he meets her again, she falls right back into drugs, and things don't end well. Yeah, it feels like, I wonder if like they had Light Sleeper in mind when they were casting, because they were just like, it's the whole vibe of it is like, guys cruising around dark, seedy city at night dealing with criminals. It's got a very Batman-y kind of vibe to the whole thing.
This could almost be a story in the Batman universe of like this low-level dealer that's like, he's scared of Batman, wants to get out, he's also hooked on it.
Yeah,
and like all the mobsters have to hang out in these little apartments, so they can't go out at certain times. Like, they had like with Susan Sarandon had that all organized of like where the money is moving and stuff. It's like you could just pretend like, well, we can't go out there. Batman's out there right now.
Yeah. And just even the whole thing. So unless you have like your white male character cruising the city every night dealing with criminals, and then you have Dana Delaney as the woman who got away coming back into his life and stuff. It's very like I wonder if they're kind of aware of it when they were if that was the thing that like stood out on her CV when she came in, But
there's a YouTube playlist of Light Sleeper soundtrack, and I just want to like play that and cut to like Bruce Wayne journaling in his mansion.
I would say maybe journaling would help Bruce Wayne, but then in The Batman, he is journaling the whole goddamn time. So.
That's like half the movie.
Yeah. With the Gotham Project or whatever he's calling it. It's like, you call it that, Bruce. Sure.
Just Paul Schrader watching the Batman, just slowly nodding. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, well, he must be a little bit of twofer for him, though. You go to see Joker and be like, wait a minute. I made this already. Oh, wait, maybe
where's
this...
my check?
Yeah, where was it? Going to see the Batman? Oh, God damn it, it's the same freaking movie!
They're all hacks.
Goes to Warner Brothers, puts his hand out. Come on. Tap it. Put the check in it.
Fair enough, I think.
Yeah. But, I have to say, because I maintain my optimistic view that, like, maybe this could have been a big turning point for Bruce and Andrea, because I love this minute so much. Just because it's like one of the few times we get the vibe that Bruce is genuinely happy, even though things are messed up. When he goes and stops Andrea and they like embrace and start to kiss and stuff, and the music really swells, it kind of has a little bit of like, oh, maybe things are going to turn out okay. Like,
I don't know. Maybe I'm cynical. I thought he leant in for the kiss to shut her up.
Oh no! Well, she was already leaving.
That's true. I'm just being mean.
Yeah. Again, though, you wonder how much is she playing him in terms of she came out with that big lie. Is her going like, well, so I'm going to leave now? Is she expecting him to stop her, or is this all organic?
I think it's organic. I think she genuinely loves Bruce. But in her mind, it's like, well, yeah, but we can't be together. Like, I've got this mission that I'm doing. It's not going to work. So I think it was kind of genuine. I don't think she's trying to sort of trick him into falling for her again. There's a lot of moans and groans for a kid's cartoon when they're kissing. It's a bit intimate.
Yeah.
All right, so that's what I wanted to bring up. Going with your earlier minutes where you talked about him and the ladies that he used to date. I like to think that, like, okay, at least in this, I think, yeah, this Bruce Wayne is having sex with those women for these one-night stands, and it's probably him, like, he's awake the whole time, like, and don't worry, this Batman helped make sure the lady climaxes, because she climaxes, and she goes to sleep. She's like, oh, I'm relaxed.
That's
She's
part
like,
of his
she passes
plan.
right out. Yeah, and then he's just on the balcony, like, looking out, like, maybe he's, like, checking to make sure, like, she's asleep. He's just, okay, now, and then he just, boom, goes to Batman, and because Batman goes out at night, I'm thinking because of Andrea, this is the first time he's, like, slept through an entire night. No thoughts about Batman. Just, like, he is, like, the Willem Dafoe character at the end, where it's like he finds his redemption, boom, passes right out.
Yeah.
Like, his brain allows him to take the rest. And that's where it's like he has that moment where he's like, no, Meg's love, and he's like, his body and mind are sound.
If you want to be really insidious about it, imagine that he uses condoms that are laced on the outside with some kind of a sedative.
Oh my God. I was thinking that, but I didn't want to be the one to say it.
It's a pleasure. It's pleasure. It's extra pleasure.
So like, yeah, he'll give him the good time.
Yeah.
He'll give him the good time. Yeah. They're gonna pass out, and then he can go Batman.
Yeah.
Oh God,
I mean, like,
now I'm thinking about Bruce just drugging women. Oh.
But it's like, it's one of these things where you kind of go like, look, now I'm not saying it's a good thing, but you're just like, you go, yeah, you're not along. You're like, he would do something bad like that. He's like, they have to have a good sleep because I need to be out there all night.
It's for their own good.
It's their own good. There's crime.
And also, Bruce makes sure that they're satisfied, but he brings himself to the edge and then stops because he's like, I need to be on the edge the whole night. So,
Yes!
It helps him. It gives him the drive.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, he makes sure Alfred has like a cup of tea and like an asprin for them, the next morning,
Bruce practices semen retention.
Oh God, he would be one of those kind of people, wouldn't he? He'd be like, no, I can't climax. It'll sap my powers.
Yeah. Although we say that the next morning, the guy's covered in bandages the night before. Next day, all his cuts and bruises. They could have been at this for weeks. This is like, this is just like, oh, Master Bruce, you really have to come out of the room now. It's been pent up for 10 years, Alfred. We're staying in here. Just keep bringing in the Gatorade or whatever we need.
When we see him in the morning, though, he's just getting out of the shower, right? He's got the towel around his waist, so he just bathed. So. Yeah.
There's no cuts, though. He had a whole big fight with a SWAT team. And
I think that's kind of a limitation of the art style, because you can't really...
I'm telling you,
there's not room for that kind of detailing.
You want to watch like blood stream down a shower Nile on a kid's cartoon?
I'm telling you, it wasn't that they were in there overnight. They were there for like at least 2 weeks.
Just get it all out of our system, right?
Yeah. Everyone's forgot about the Phantasm now. She's been busy.
What's Alfred doing though? Because I mean, he walks in on them, but just before they're about to get it on, with a tray of he's got like a tray of tea, even though it looks like coffee. The script says it's tea. So like, what's he doing as well? Like, he walks away with the tea. Is he going to drink it all? He's going to be over-caffeinated once again. This keeps happening to him.
He'll just work it into his dusting. You
No,
know?
I would assume that he's just gonna then pour it down the drain, I guess.
Oh, you can't do that to tea. That's a crime. That's a crime to an English person. Come on.
Well, I mean, maybe that's a crime with good tea. We don't know how good Bruce's tastes are.
That's a good point. Yeah, I think we speculated many years ago about the tea habits of the two of them, but I could see Alfred being someone who would only want to make proper tea with tea leaves, old school style. But Bruce is probably like, no, I like the cheapo tea bags, the PG tips. They're cool.
This is also tea for company. So if Andrea is coming around, he's just like, well, that'd be the best tea because I don't want her going away thinking, oh, that butler's tea was pretty crap, right? He's going to be, no, everything
Well, then
has
maybe
to be
he can take
exemplary.
it and ice it down, turn it into iced tea.
Oh,
True.
No, you can't. No, jeez.
Well,
You're reminding me that I think Jeremy Irons he jumped to the top of my list of best Alfreds because of that tea scene with Wonder Woman and Justice League.
Yes.
I think if you ask me what's your favorite scene for Justice League, I'm like the scene where Jeremy Irons Alfred wants to make sure Diana's tea is perfect, and she keeps going, no, I'll do it. He's like, no. I just love it. He's like, don't scald the tea. I just love it. He's just over her shoulder being so careful about it. She's like, so, whatever, hot, boiled water, put the tea in, da-da-da. I think that's, so I'll just say that. In The Flash, you get a minute of Jeremy Irons Alfred helping Flash trying to save the city, and I was like, this might be the last time I get to see Jeremy Irons Alfred.
See, I wasn't even expecting him. I was like, that was the thing I was most excited about when the movie started. And I was like, Jeremy Irons is in this? I was like, oh, great, here we go.
Like, that's a treat. Ooh, a little icy on the cake for me. Yeah. It's like,
and then the idea that they had gone with their original plan where Keaton would have moved into the main DCEU and he would have become their main Batman. And it's like, you telling me we would have got Keaton Batman and Jeremy Irons working together? Like,
bliss.
And like potentially that could be in that Batgirl movie that they're not releasing. It's like, oh yeah, Jeremy Irons film, him and Michael Keaton just been buddy. He's like, what the hell who do we what vault do we have to break into? Like,
oh my god, yeah, Brendan Fraser's your villain. You got Irons. Oh, but yeah, it really is.
It really must be because they kept saying too, like, oh no, it was unreleasable. Like we know it would damage the brand. It's like, how bad could it have been? Come on.
Bullshit. We got through the Joss Whedon Justice League.
Yeah, you put out the
Justice
Justice League. Come on.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
I've sat through a lot of bad comic book stuff. I sat through the last hour of Moon Knight where it took a real crap on everything it set up, all right? I deserve to see Batgirl and Keaton Batman.
Yeah, and Irons. Get the more irons in the fire.
And Irons. I want Irons.
The more irons, the better.
Yeah. Although, of course, everyone knows, but we should point out, though, that the little Alfred maneuver is, of course, a callback to earlier in the movie when they were raw dogging on the lawn, and he came in and was like, oop, and had to go around. Although this one's even more like, Alfred left the room last week because he saw them holding hands and was like, his eyes bugged out of his head and was like, oh, well, I better, make myself scarce. So him coming back in now is very like, what are you hoping you're going to see, Alfred?
Me? All right.
Alfred came in and he caught me red-handed, creeping with the girl next door.
I was thinking maybe when he's playing the same, he's like kind of playing the same playbook when Bruce brings a woman home, where Alfred purposely walks by as an excuse for Bruce to like leave. Oh, hold on, I must talk with Alfred.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, I have to go out for a business meeting. Alfred, can you see her? I just feel like that's a playbook that like Alfred always does. Like, I'll make my show. It's getting later into the night. He probably needs to go out there because he's even though he's bandaged up, he needs to go back out there. So like and he's like, oh, I guess not. I guess we're not doing the tea escape.
He's coming in there with the pretend phone call like, Master Bruce. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, the script has an interesting thing about the kiss. I forgot to mention. I thought because the script describes it as it says they gaze into each other's eyes and then kiss, the kind of kiss that Max Steiner wrote scores for.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and if people don't know, Steiner's sort of most popular, biggest scores. You've got like King Kong, Little Women, Casablanca, Gone with the Wind. So it's going for that kind of classic vibe, the sweeping music.
I have to say, like, this song on the soundtrack is called "A Plea for Help." It's one of my favorite tracks on the whole Mask of the Phantasm soundtrack. I love this music so much. It's so different from anything else that's in the animated series. It never gets into like being so unapologetically romantic, because everything usually has some sort of sinister, dark undercurrent to all the Shirley Walker themes. And yeah, this is a great bit of music, because it's obviously it's been hinted at earlier in the scheme. They've always had the little, throughout the movie, you've had your little dun, 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 dun. But this is this is it now, getting the full orchestra gets to play it. And again, it has that vibe of like, hey, things are working out for Bruce now. Isn't it great? And you're like, yeah, well, let's hope it keeps that way, right?
Now, I don't know if I got to the episode yet, because I'm doing, Niall's up my butt. I got to get caught up. And I'm not, they're going to be back behind, because we got the whole chunk between recording and editing. I'm still behind. Have you clocked where you believe this movie would take place during the show?
I think it just comes.
If we have a canonical,
I think it just comes up at the end. I think as the show happens, then this happens, and then after.
So this is the end. This is post BTAS.
I've always thought that if you wanted to explain like why the Joker looks so different when they made the leap to WB, is because this is the end. Like, this is the end of that universe, the BTAS universe. And then if you wanted to, you can go like, oh, all the other stuff counts when it came back and everything was redesigned. It's still the same universe. But if you wanted to, you could also go, no, it's completely different. It's the same cast, but it's a different timeline or whatever. It's a multiverse thing, because that's popular now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my thinking has always been like, no, this is like the climax of everything that was BTAS.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
All right. So this is after. This is like so. Nightwing is Nightwing already existing now? Like, we're not even at Robin.
Robin has left.
Yeah, Robin's like I think in the book it mentions
Dick Grayson has left.
Yeah, he's out of here and stuff. So yeah.
Okay. All right then. All right. I realized we were actually like that late.
So
okay.
Coming back to the kiss here. So we see very, very sort of old school cinema thing. Andrea lifting her leg as she gets kissed.
Yeah.
So I did a little research on this. So it's called the foot pop is the technical term for it.
The foot pop. Oh, no, yes. I like that. That makes it sound more dynamic than you.
It was originally created as a cinematic trope because at the time, standards and practices, you couldn't actually really show kissing. Oh. So you could zoom down like they're doing here. I mean, I know they are showing some kissing, but you zoom down like you're showing here, and the foot pops up, and it's like, oh, they're kissing right now. And basically, the theory is, so in all research that's been done, they've never found any sort of biological anything that suggests that this is like an actual like inherent behavior. So basically the theory is that this is just like a learned behavior that women in particular have, like, we've seen enough romantic comedies. This is the thing you do when you kiss and you're into it.
It's like a cheap comedian walking around. Women always be putting their leg up when they kiss.
Women
right,
be
fellas?
putting their leg up.
Women! And the guys are, yeah! You know what I'm talking about, fellas?
Women be shopping.
I like it though that they're layering it on then of like, oh yeah, the foot pop was like, it was how you hid the kissing, and they're like, yeah, if this was a show, it'd have to do that. But this is the movies, baby, and we get the full on show. We show everything. We just show the whole goddamn stuff.
It also sort of fits with this movie being like such a noir story that, doing sort of like an old timey cinema thing like that.
I was surprised too at the speaking of old timey cinema, like the backdrop though, Bruce's wall, shockingly jazzy. For it looks like something out of like Fantasia, when like they're doing like, oh, this now we will show you how an orchestra works, and then they people will do those trumpet sections and like little triangles and stuff come out.
That's the whole aesthetic of the BTAS universe, though, right? Is it's like some of it feels 50s, some of it feels 90s, some of it...
Yeah, it's all over the place. It's great. I love that.
Intentionally anachronistic, intentionally not in a particular time period.
But just as decor for Bruce Wayne. Because you can see behind them, it's like all these random triangles and lines. It's just very...
He might have bought that at like a museum like charity auction. And he's like, I don't know, Alfred, just put it better.
Yeah, it feels like hotel art.
Yeah.
Like just... we know, first off, Bruce never really spends time in this room, right? Like, this is his bedroom that he barely sleeps in. So...
Yeah.
it's just there.
Yeah. You have the for me, I got the vibe more like, it's just little triangles of different color. It kind of had the vibe of like he was planning to paint the room, and these were all the different paint swatches he had, and it just never got around to it or something. Or Alfred, he's like, "No, Alfred, I'm gonna paint my room." Like, all right then, well, make sure it's done by the end of the week. And still, he's just got these little dabs and lines and stuff. Like, I still don't like the color though. All right.
Also, think about this. This is also the master bedroom. This is his parents' bedroom. And we talk about he doesn't sleep in his... Like, that actually is a great scene in Batman Begins when he talks about, like, I can't sleep in my father's bed.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you are the head of the house. Like, you will sleep into this bed. He's like, it's like he doesn't want to accept that if I move in, I erase my father's memory.
I get it. I know it's unhealthy to think that way, but I also understand why someone might,
Well, wasn't that that was a thing I remember with the royal family recently is that I don't remember if they wound up resolving it, but I guess now King Charles, he'd been living in, I don't remember the names of the castles over there, but he'd been living basically in the next in line castle for so long that he didn't want to then move into
his age.
Yeah, well, he did once the queen died, and he was going to now ascend to the throne. He didn't want to move to the castle or the building where you're now supposed to live as the monarch. Because he's like, look, I've been living here for, 50, 60, 70 years?
Yeah,
Like,
the majority of his life.
This is my home.
Yeah. And also then too, like I think, I don't want to think about what the royal family get up to in their private lives.
Oh God, no, of course not.
The
aristocrats.
Speaking of that, though, Alex, you actually set up something quite well there. Because I looked into, this is a big deal to people if you look into Mask of the Phantasm. One of the things they always point out is like, it's the first time where it's implicitly kind of said that Batman has sex. Like, we obviously in 89, there's a bit of him and Vicky Vale going up. Obviously, Adam West, you never would have got any illusions to anything like that. But like, and then the show, they can't show Bruce Wayne going and freaking, bumping uglies or anything like that. But in this movie, they're like, oh yeah, we can. It's strongly implied that's what they're doing. It's not even implied. It's basically stated that they have sex. And so I looked into what was the first ever animated sex scene. What was the first use of sex in animation? I, in my head, had an idea of what it might have been, and was way off. But like, what? I don't know if you guys know much about like the history of animation, but what would you assume it was?
I was assuming it was an old black and white pornographic cartoon that someone did.
Yeah, I would assume some sort of like ribald, old-timey thing that like, oh, we don't talk about that though.
Well, but you guys, you're pretty bang-on guess right there. Because my thinking was like, oh yeah, Fritz the Cat. It would have been like in the 70s when they're like, the 60s have happened, the counterculture is here. And Fritz the Cat was the first ever X-rated cartoon, Ralph Bakshi. One of the things notorious at the time, tame as all hell now.
Yeah. You try watching it now, and it's like, I see worse than this, like in the middle of the day on TV.
Yeah. It's just one of the things that, mid-season South Park will just knock this out every single week kind of thing. But no, yeah, pretty much what as you guys said, the first ever pornographic, or first ever animated sex scene comes from a movie from 1929. Called Ever Ready Hard On in Buried Treasure. The character is called Ever Ready Hard On. Could there be a subtext? No, it's and apparently it was made by 3 different animation studios for a party celebrating Winsor McKay. Speaking of the Windsors, Winsor McKay was a guy who like created Little Nemo and stuff like that. And at one point they're like, yeah, we're having a big party for him. We're gonna. All of his mates decided we'll make a movie that's just everything, just the most heinous, disgusting, terrible stuff.
Yeah.
And basically, like you said, Alex, the aristocrats. It's like a big, long aristocrats joke. So you can get it. It's public domain because it's obviously 1929. And it is like, looking at it now, it's like, holy Christ, this is still shocking.
Should we review it, or is it too shocking?
That's because it's only short. I can kind of go through and I'll censor as appropriate. But
Wow, hang on. So I just pulled up a Wikipedia page. It depicts the sexual adventures of ever-ready hard-on, a pun on ever-ready hard-on, whose perpetually aroused, comically oversized penis at times detaches and acts on its own.
Yeah.
And then, Niall, you can keep going because I'm probably about to describe the same things you are.
Well, yeah, it's basically what happened was the people who made it. One of them was Paul Terry, who was the creator of Mighty Mouse, who actually Ralph Bakshi brought back Mighty Mouse in the 80s. And one of our friends, Brett Stillo, he brought it up as one of his choices for cartoons at the end. And the people behind the Mutt and Jeff studio, and also Max Fleischer, the guy who made the Superman cartoons, he was involved in making this thing.
Fleischer. Now
Fleischer,
I know why he's called that.
Yeah, or Fleischer. I'm sure people probably correct me, actually, yeah. And it was one of these things, when they did it, they sent it out to be a film lab. They sent it out to the film lab to get developed, and it was so bad that no American film lab would do it. So they had to send it to Cuba to get it developed. And then Cuba were like, fine, yeah, we'll do this. Who cares? But I guess you could also say maybe that's the first example of outsourcing animation as well, because they're like, no one will touch this thing, so we have to send it out of country to get processed. But yeah, basically, like, it starts off with Ever Ready Hard-On as he's escaped a group of, quote, hoary Amazons, and he's lying with his erect member, which he walks around with it as if it's literally a third leg. He's looking around. He's looking through his binoculars. Sees like all these animals having sex everywhere, and then a woman just naked, seeing to herself. He goes over and like drinks her breast milk.
What?
And then her labia stretches out to meet him.
I'm reading the plot here on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Plot.
This is
there's a
insane.
section on the Wikipedia article called plot.
Yeah.
Science checks out on this.
And as he tries to enter her, there's like inside her. There's a clock. There's like a shoe.
This sounds like a Japanese movie.
A shoe.
Yeah, and then a crab jumps out and chops out. Clips.
Is this symbolic?
Yeah.
It is. Crab jumps out of her private area, snips off his penis, and then runs away with it. He goes after it. And then at one point he comes across a woman sleeping in the sand underneath, like she's got a big pile of sand on top of her, and he decides I'm just going to do this. Tries to go over and have sex with her, but it turns out under the sand is an old man lying on top of her.
What?
And he's taking him up the backside, and so he tries to run away
In
He
the
was
back door.
tricked.
Yeah, he's gone through the back door, but he's stuck. So he runs away, and this guy's still attached to him. Eventually, they both get free. There's a whole thing with it's like a literal cockfight at one point. There's a guy having sex with a donkey, and then the whole thing ends with him discovering a glory hole that he just sticks his member through, and there's a cow on the other side. It starts, and that's the first ever multiple sex scenes depicted.
Reading this, it feels like something you would draw in your friend's notebook at school as like a flip book in the corner. Like, haha, he left his notebook on his desk. Yeah. And anyway, I'm going to draw a little flip book of a guy having sex with like a cow. And his penis falling off and then being bent back into shape. And then he's going to open it and he's going to laugh.
The things you think of, these are all like fully grown men as well who made this for fun, and then they're saying they had this big party where they premiered it, and the waiters said to come in delivering drinks, and it's just all these kind of fairly well-to-do guys in suits just watching this thing they made, laughing their asses off.
Well, the thing is, I can believe that these are like animators who work on kids' cartoons, because I can imagine if you spend all your time doing like product that's meant for kids, occasionally you need to blow off the more adult energy, pardon the expression, but it's like, okay, fine, I've been drawing this like cloying kid stuff all the time, like haha, this just as like a release
this is
valve.
coming though from the era of Betty Boop and stuff, though. This isn't even before any kind of codes have kicked in, so like they're making things for kids, but there was still like, if you look at that old Felix the Cat stuff,
sure,
it's bonkers. Like, it's really like, what the hell is it? Like, so this is them only kind of mildly pushing out the boat a little bit, because they're kind of borderline doing a lot of this stuff already, But yeah, so that is the ever ready hard on in Buried Treasure.
It reminds me of a crazier version of the old video game, Leisure Suit Larry. It's like sexy, just dirty for no reason. Very cheeky, very English.
I thought you dialed it back a bit there, John. Going like a sexy, very cheeky.
Yeah, well, Yeah, I think those two things go hand in hand.
Yeah, well. But while we're on the subject of animation, I guess we technically are every episode this year. We are asking the guests though, because BTAS is such a big show for people of kind of our generation. Back in the day, like what were your other favorite cartoons that were on at the time?
Oh boy, so my two biggest. Well, I guess two-ish, biggest kind of in the superhero genre. I was a big X-Men kid and a big, just the whole Tim Dini-verse, so BTAS, Justice League, Superman, all those. And then, like, the Looney Tunes were still on. You could still get a lot of Looney Tunes. And then, like, the whole Nickelodeon lineup. Like, so I found a page that had a bunch of like here were the Nickelodeon shows. So I was able to kind of like find the line where I guess I tuned out of Nickelodeon, because it was like, okay, I was watching Real Monsters, that I was all over that one, but
Brilliant
like
choice.
I think I had like aged out of it by the time that like Wild Throneberries came up.
Oh, same.
So like Cat Dog I was watching.
Yes.
Throneberries I wasn't.
What about Angry Beavers?
I remember it. I remember watching some of Angry Beavers.
What about Kablam?
Oh
Yeah, but love Kablam.
But I was thinking like Kablam's not strict. Doug was a big one.
Yeah.
Even though like in hindsight, Doug is the life of like a 12-year-old, and I was not even 12 yet.
But it kind of, I think you connect with it because you see what's going to happen to you in the coming years.
And then also Rugrats, the whole Nickelodeon lineup. Like Ren and Stimpy, I think, was probably like too old for me. Like I wasn't a big Ren and Stimpy guy, but then Hey Arnold, I remember some of that. But yeah, like the Nickelodeon lineup, and then X-Men. I think I got into the Spider-Man animated series a little bit too. But I feel like it was mostly like all of those.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. That's just, they're talking about fast
I know I just
animation.
basically listed every cartoon that came out while we were all kids. So
It's weird now, because I remember when, I think it was like when the last season of like The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina came out. I remember seeing like, it was a really good interview with Kiernan Shipka, who plays, Sabrina. Because she seems like she's really good fun. If you see her interview, she's just great, it seems like a funny lady. But they were doing a thing of like, here's a bunch of stuff that came out in the 90s. Do you recognize any of it? Because obviously Sabrina comes from the 90s. So like all the stuff that was around at the time. And so they show her like a picture of a Furby. And she's like, no, what the f*** is that?
Oh, God, now I feel old.
But one of them was a picture of Patty Mayonnaise from Doug. And she was just sitting for a while. I was like, I do know that face though, somewhere. And then eventually they're like, oh yeah, Patty Mayonnaise. She's like, oh no, I have heard of Patty Mayonnaise. And she went into a thing like, I could play that part now though. Like if they did that, I could be like the bourgeois Patty Mayonnaise, Patty Aioli. And like that whole running joke about it and stuff.
to be fair, Kiernan Shipka was born in late '99, so
yeah. I think that was the point, was to be like, those kids don't know what they don't remember this stuff because they weren't there.
On.
Yeah, and it takes time to get to a point where you're like, I'm going to check out things from the past that might interest me. Because kids aren't interested in that, really. They're interested in what's new.
And would those things include a Furby? Probably not.
Probably not, no.
I'm sure there's lots of toys from the early 80s that my brothers never bothered to tell me about because they're like, oh, well, what about you, though, Dave? Like, what have you got lined up?
Well, I was going through my list of what I was watching on Saturday morning and stuff. So, yeah, we have pretty much everything that Alex already said. So, boom, that bangs that out. The whole superheroes, pretty much any WB superhero. If it was, from Superman, Batman, Static Shock, like all of them. Spider-Man 2. So I was trying to go for ones that like you guys didn't hit, like certain networks. Obviously, there's a country difference between us, but big fan of Recess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I remember Recess.
And Recess. Yeah, I love that. Recess was good. I remember watching a lot of Recess. Reboot and all the other CGI cartoons. So we're talking like talking about Beast Wars, Beast Machine, stuff like that. The Transformers.
I think I remember even like opting out of those. Like Beast Wars Because even at the time, like, the effect's been so shonky that I'm just like, I don't want to look at this. Like, this is unpleasant to look at.
Even as a kid, I remember watching it and being like, I'm lost. Are we back in time? Are there aliens and the robots? And I was always like, as a kid, I think that's why the one cartoon of that I didn't like watching was X-Men, because I was like, okay, this is all getting twisty turny on me. It's too much plot.
Yeah.
Like, I think X-Men was like too smart for me. I'm like, why is Sky and Jean Grey so hung up on each other? Yeah, knock it off. I was just like, I was like so much the actual like personal drama, which was like one of the things people like about X-Men. I was like, that's too much.
There's so many continuing stuff. Because again, too, when you're a kid, and like a lot over with us, it was very like, oh yeah, the shows will be on, and then they might be on around the same time the next week. And then sometimes, particularly during the summer, they just throw on cartoons left, right, and center, so you could miss things.
Oh yeah.
And X-Men was always troublesome because it was a continuing story. So you see an episode of Batman, it's like, oh, it's all resolved by the end. But X-Men was just like, part 6 of the whatever saga, and you're like, what the hell's going on? Like,
I think the last thing I remember like that really turned me off to X-Men was I remember watching an episode. I think I came in like maybe the last 10 minutes, and they're fighting, they're resolving. I just remember Cyclops opening a door of the mansion, walks in, and goes, Jean. And there's no one in the room. He goes, no! And that's how the episode ended. I was like, no, shut up. Like, that's how you end an episode. I go, I don't know where Jean is. She's not in her room.
It's a very
he screams at the...
It's a very modern approach, isn't it, doing that? You didn't really get a lot of cartoons or even TV shows doing that then.
Having continuity from episode to episode, telling a longer story. Like, it's a show kind of meant to be binged. In a way.
I think the trauma lasted, though, because then, like, when they released X3... and they introduced, like, Kelly MacDonald was like, oh, yeah, this is Maura McTaggart. And I was like, I don't know who Maura McTaggart is. I tried watching the show, but I came in the middle of the damn storyline. So I was like, who is this lady? Why is she so into Xavier? What's going on? So even there, it's like, oh, yeah, that's her name checked. I was like, but who is Maura McTaggart? I don't know who this character is.
Yeah, well, I mean, the X-Men movies, they were just kind of like ticking the boxes of like, hey, here's this character.
Yeah.
Bet you like that, don't you, nerds?
Again, there's a lot of that now, though, particularly these days. It is just like, yeah, we threw in friggin' Black Manta. There he is. It's like, all right, it's bad.
And also, Ghostbusters. I didn't mention both real Ghostbusters and Extreme Ghostbusters. They both count. They would play them around the same time.
Oh, of course, yeah. That's not always defend. Yeah, Extreme Ghostbusters is a show I know people have targeted it in recent years. I was like,
oh, it's great.
It always seemed good at the time. I've watched episodes of it in recent years because it was on YouTube now. And I've been like, no, this stands up. This is all solid Ghostbustering stuff.
I'd probably like it now, but at the time, I was like, that's not the Ghostbusters. This isn't right.
I never got hung up about it. I don't know why. Like, I know there's that whole thing since like the lady movie, and then this new one where you get the kid. I was never hung up about like it had to be these Ghostbusters. I think I liked the plucky, we got a job to do, like pay bills attitude of it. And I think that's why I was just like, I don't know, maybe because like I watched the ladies one and I was like, I'm okay with like the beginning of it, but I think it's like, I think I wanted more about them paying bills. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'm hung up on the.
That's what kids need in their cartoons. More bill paying.
Yes.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but for some reason I find such a when I watch at least the original two, I just find this so much funny of how they talk about paying like bills and stuff. The capitalism of it makes me laugh so much. I don't know why.
This magnificent feast represents the last of the petty cash. Like,
stuff like that.
Slow down.
And you have to remember, they have to charge Grant thousands of dollars because they have to like all this electrical building they're paying to the grid. I don't know. Something about that makes me always laugh. So.
I have to wonder though, because Extreme Ghostbusters, I think it predates Batman Beyond, so it's kind of like they were laying the track for like, what if same continuity from the old cartoon, but new generation, and like it's in the kind of future now, and then like over in DC, both Deanie and Tim been like, okay, how'd that work out for you guys? You doing okay with that?
I remember liking the Men in Black cartoon.
Oh, baby, Men in Black. Oh, don't get me started. Yeah, I love it too much.
Next time,
Don't do that. No, don't say. Like you have to say, Niall, is Remember that one episode that was the plot of Men in Black 3 in the 90s that was only 15 minutes long and it does it better? I go, yes.
It's not hard to do
I
it
am hung
better,
up
let's
on
be
that
honest.
episode.
I also always remember because they had the big overarching villain was Alpha, who was like the original Man in Black, but he turned himself. He like kept adding like alien technology to his body and stuff, so he could like elongate his neck, and he was just like he was a real monster, but he had like a kind of a guy's face peeking out of him and stuff. And I remember at the time being like, this would be a really cool villain for a film. And they've never touched on that.
No, I think it's insane how there's so many ideas from the cartoons they could make a movie out of, and they could have at the time found a way to work in a new cast so you can phase out big ticket number, like Will Smith and Tommy Jones have other characters.
Yeah.
And I just felt like that international one was just like they were so desperate to make it, they had nothing to like really tell about it.
And I don't think any of the sequel films had a consistent joke that was as good as having an agent called U. Because they'd always call him Agent U, and then there's just the confusion of having a guy called U all the time, and just been
No thanks, big thank you, you. And Jay's like, thanks. No, I was talking to Agent U.
Yeah, you're talking to me? No, I'm talking to you. You are talking to me. No, I'm talking to you.
I don't know. Third base.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's me noted out for minute 51 anyway. So, but yeah, thanks for coming on. Again, guys, always welcome.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Before we head off into the dark night, would you like to promote anything that you're working on, either of you? I'm going to pick at random. Dave, you can go first.
Oh God. Well, I know I'm still working on 5 Minutes of Mystery. Believe it or not, I think I've hinted that I'm working on making a sequel as a role playing game. It's just hard to like get everyone's busy schedules. So like that's why it's super slow to like get these episodes out, and then eventually I'll edit them. But like I don't know. I'm kind of holding on, hoping that there'll be some kind of Mystery Men reference somewhere.
Hey.
All I can tell you is the only news is that this Razorfly Studios, they did buy the Herkimer and they are working on it. So if you find their Facebook page, you can go to list. I'll post it in the Lakeside Diners Club every so often. They make a big post about them working on it and fixing up the metal. But yeah, like that's like my news I'd like to tell you is that like the Herkimer Battle Genie has been purchased by an actual restoration company and they are working on it.
That is good to hear. I'm excited for that. And Alex, have you got anything you'd like to plug or promote, or just give people your handles?
I have nothing that I am actively working on anymore. There are constantly things being rumbled about, and then ADHD kicks in and we never get to them.
I feel you on that one.
Yeah, you can check out a couple of shows that have completed their full runs, Galaxy Quest Minute and Independence Day Minute at podcatchers near you.
Yep. Check that out, everybody. And check us out, because we're so cool, on Facebook at the Bat Minute Listeners Cave, Twitter at Bat Minute, Instagram, The Bat Minute, and let me think, what should I pick? I say what should I pick? I've only got like 3 options. Let's go with Patreon. Go to the Sleepy Charlie Media Patreon that has been mentioned this week, and you can get bonus stuff, and it just helps us keep the show going, because it costs money. Believe it or not. We all lose money doing this kind of thing. So do all of that and join us again next week for more exciting Bat Minute of the Phantasm.
Next time. Hey, Bruce, think about the future. A post-coitus crusader basks in the afterglow and beholds an old beau sired by his new foe. Partings prove to be such sweet sorrow, but will post-nut clarity see our altruistic aristocrat reconsider his alter ego's remaining tomorrows? Join us on the veranda next week. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute. Oh, Andrea.